Alright, this is a match on Ruinberg in the Tier 10 German medium, the E50M. And so when you look at this type of composition, both teams have a lot of relatively fast tanks. We have all the light tanks though. So we have kind of a favor to go to the field, so we're going to try to take the field and hopefully we get enough support out there. And then you want to take the most direct route possible to the field, particularly in this sort of low RD, low scouting sort of setup. You want to get off of the 6th line because it's really easy to get spotted on the 6th line. The faster you get east, the better. And then if you're mediums, you don't really want to go into the field. I'm sorry, you don't really want to go into the city. Like this T-54 and this T-54E1 are going to go into the city, and they'll be mostly ineffective in this game. This 110 went down the 6th line, which is kind of ballsy for a Tier 8 and a Tier 10 game, but he actually ends up being pretty effective over there. It's a good place for heavy tanks to go. Mostly you want your heavy tanks to be in town, right? We're a little bit light in town. We have 2 E100s, which is good because that's 2 of our 3 Tier 10s. But they're supported by 2 mediums, which is, mediums almost never trade very well in that town area. And so I'm waiting for our dispersion to get out here. None of our light tanks moved forward. You notice like our 3 light tanks are the 3 tanks that are the furthest back at this point, which is always disappointing to see because you want to get some early lights and you want to have some intel on this 0 line. But given their dispersion, given their composition, we kind of assume that they're going to have a lot of people in the field. And so I'm being a little bit patient here, but we're sort of hemorrhaging a little bit, so I have to be a little bit more aggressive. Even though we don't know exactly what's in the field, we know that there's a few tanks out here, including this 215B, who's going to YOLO in here. And then so just at this point, right, so I'm looking at their composition. They've got 5 tanks over there. They've still got a lot of tanks that aren't accounted for. But we've got the majority of our team is in their field now. And so now we're looking to try to get shots of opportunity. They're going to try to chase down this T-21, for example. And then they're pushing up onto this F line over here, but we have a 110 who's hull down over there, so that's a pretty good position to spot those guys. So we're doing okay in this field now. We've pushed them off of this F line, which means that now it's very easy to shoot down this into the city, and these guys will need help with this E100 at some point. So I'm gonna basically decided to ignore this side and go and look on the other side. And again, if they still have tanks up here, then you kind of have to pay attention. But you know, once we beat off their tanks over here, then there's no reason for us to not, you know, be looking to shoot these guys in the middle lane here. And then we just basically need to wait for lights on that E100. And then we'll see that the Centurion 7-1 ends up coming back, and he tries to light over here or get shots over here, which is fine. You just have to keep in mind that when he does that, you don't want to get shot by these guys down here. This is what you're trying to do. You're trying to shoot them from beyond range, not let them shoot you. So I'm going to get lit here. And so I'll back out so that E100 that's down there can't shoot me. And then we see that they have their Lorraine as well down here, so they've still got a couple of 9s back there. And the Centurion 7-1 backed off, so I'm going to get more shots on the T-100. Unfortunately, when our 110 pokes, he gets killed by the E100. And I don't quite have a good angle to shoot his Lord Glacius, so I move up the ramp a little bit. And he's basically up against that wall, the northern wall of that street, so I know that really the only place that he can go is backwards. And then by this point they're starting to get flanked, so we still have two E100s in the town, which is good, but they're up against 5 tanks, right? These guys in their south, or their east, I guess you could, southeast you could say, they're not really pressuring us on the northeast, so I can feel free to leave here whenever I want. Which I'm going to do, so I'm going to try to get to the backside of our E100s to give them support. I don't want to take this street right here, even though I might be able to kill the E75. It's too easy for these guys to just come in and flank me at that point. So it's safest to go around this way. And then that E75 is coming up 3 line as well, so I have to keep an eye on him. And then our E100 on the other side died, so we're going to have to push in here at some point. And then I want to drop spot so that they don't know where I'm going, so I go into this little drive-in here, and then I'm going to move to flank. And then again, this is somewhat dangerous because they might be coming down the E line or guarding the E line, so you don't want to stop over here, you want to just keep going through. And then you definitely don't want to stop on this line because Artie can hit you, so again you want to push all the way through to the back of that tortoise. And then the tortoise is going to try to run away, so fire through the back track. Our E100 is in a somewhat dangerous position because he can get RD'd, but works out. Okay, and now they have a 704 and a T-54E1 in the field. We've got, 1,000 health on the Centurion and 800 health on the E100. The E100 just got hit by the RD. So I'm thinking these guys should be able to front those 2 guys, and I'll go kill the RD and then come back. But they start to put cap pressure on, and you can get on the cap over in this corner here. And then these guys have to push all the way around the corner in order to shoot you, so I decide in case that they're doing that, I'm going to come back and actually support them instead. And so to do that, I'm just going to drive across the E line and then up the 6. Unfortunately, our E100 misses their 704, and then I think he gets himself killed. But the Centurion killed the T-54E1, which means there's only 1 on the cap now, which, greatly decreases the amount of cap pressure that I have. So I'm not in a huge rush, I've got a minute to get there. And we spot the Lorraine over here. And so by this point, the game is more or less decided. I just need to not let this Lorraine pen me, so if I keep my armor faced towards him, he can shoot me. But he's not going to deal enough damage to me to the point where the Object 704 will be able to one-shot me, so that's fine. And then I just turn around because I know that I have a lot of time, and I'm just going after the 704. And then see how he's turning towards the Centurion. You can ram non-turret tank destroyers a lot, and you can track them by ramming them essentially. So given the opportunity, especially if you can ram into the back of a 704, highly recommended. And then so really the way that we won that was we had enough in town. We or in this little city over here, on the little village, I don't know what you want to call it, the east side. We had enough here. We didn't quite trade that well. We know that we were light in the city, right? We had the two E100s and we had two medium tanks in the city. Basically, we had a 110 in the middle, which was in a pretty good position because we were able to cover him. We didn't trade that well out here, but we did enough to fight them off. So we got them off of this F line, which allowed us to get shots back into their town. And then ultimately, because they weren't putting any pressure on us from the southeast, we were able to wrap around and support our city and then come back and kill those guys before they were able to put any sort of pressure on the back. And so if we look at the stats, this is the same old story. If you're in a medium tank and you move around and you try to get shots a lot, you will deal a lot of damage. That's just sort of how medium tanks work. And our team basically was carried by the E100 and the E50M, one in town and one in that east village. And I think that's the way that you should play this, particularly in medium tanks, which is to take that east side, make sure that you clear it, and then support the city. Anyways, so I hope that was helpful in terms of playing the E50M and or Ruinberg, and thanks for watching.